Danny Flexen for Seconds Out, here with Eddie Hearn, promoter or co-promoter, what do we call it?
Don't know, it used to bother me, but not anymore. Chancer.
Yeah. Professional chancer. For the Haye Bellew rematch that we're all looking forward to. Looking at the press conference that we've just seen, Haye did not engage in the same way he did in the press conferences before the first fight, or indeed when the rematch was first announced. Was that frustrating for you at all, as someone trying to sell the fight?
No, not really. I don't think this fight needs a lot of selling. The first fight was a good fight. And I think first time around, although they weren't necessarily trying to sell the fight, it needed the selling because no one gave Tony a chance. Now people see it as a 50-50 fight, or I certainly do. And I think what you're seeing is actually quite interesting because you're seeing a guy trying to control his emotions who is normally so cool and calm, but actually you can imagine that Ismail Salas and his team have said, David, don't lose your rag here. Keep it calm. Because last time he lost his rag and he fought like that and he made mistakes, he was erratic. He wants to be the cool, calm David Haye who likes to, set traps and counter punch, and I think he'll fight like that as well. But I just saw, like, you've been around, David, a long time. He normally has an aura and an air of confidence, and I don't see that anymore. He looked a little bit uneasy when he was talking, and he don't really want to be there because he hates Tony Bellew, and he can't believe that he's sitting up there with Tony Bellew, having to rematch him, having lost already. And I think that's going to play an important part because I think one of David's best attributes in the past was his confidence and his belief. And I'm not sure whether that's there anymore. So I think it's going to be a great fight because I think it's going to be cagey at first, and then I think they're going to go at it. But I just feel like I know him so well, and I know how much he wants to win, and I know the dogfight that's in him. And although Haye was very brave in that last fight, I just feel when it gets tough and dirty and rough, that he's going to come out on top. And I can see David Haye ending this fight on his stall in the late part of the fight, and that's it. The end of David Haye. Not that we're celebrating it, but that's what I believe is going to happen in this fight. He knows, like he said, he has to put in a good performance to carry on. He says if he wins but scrapes by, that's it. So he's putting pressure on himself as well. But in the first fight, we made the fight, and I was like, yeah, I hope Tony can win, and I could see ways he could do it. Then the rematch got made, and I think, yeah, I believe now. I can't see anything but a Tony Bellew victory in this fight, seriously, and it's going to be interesting.
You're a consummate salesman. To what extent do you buy into this new, calm, composed David Haye?
Not in the slightest. No. Not in the slightest. Again, for him to say things like "you humbled me," like that's bollocks. He cannot stand Tony Bellew. He can't believe that he's having to share a ring with him again. But he needs that composure to put the performance together that he needs to, because he knows now Tony's no joke. And I think genuinely thought Tony was shit going into the first fight, and now he knows he can fight. So he's on it, and that will make him better in this fight. But I just still don't think. I just think too many miles on the clock, too many injuries, too much going on in his life. Promotional businesses and stuff like that. Like, I don't think you can have the same desire when you've got that much going on in your life. It's not a criticism, but to be a fighter, you have to have that will to win. And his will to win is not in the same league as Tony Bellew's will to win.
You said before the first fight that you hoped you would win, and this time you know he's going to win. It must have been immensely gratifying for you to see Tony Bellew upset the odds first time round. How will you feel if he does pull it off again? Will it have the same euphoria? Will it generate the same euphoria?
Because I want him to get the respect that he deserves, and I think the problem with the first fight is, although he got respect, everyone talks about the injury, and you can't give him the full credit because Haye was injured. He caused that injury. He took it to that stage in the fight where he got injured. So you have to give him the credit. But I would love to see him get the credit as the guy who actually, knocked him out or beat him. Because when you look at his career, he's won British, Commonwealth, European title. But the win at Goodison Park was special. Like, to do that. But even back to the wins against, like, Masternak. People forget about those nights. Masternak's a world-class cruiserweight. They had an unbelievable ding-dong for the European cruiserweight fight. He was on peanuts. And he put everything on the line that night. And those sort of nights have led to this. And now he's making fortunes. Good luck to him. But it's not really about that for him. He loves to compete. He's so desperate to beat him again. And the gratitude for victory against Haye on May the 5th will be more for him to get the respect that he deserves. Because he's not aesthetically beautiful, because he's just perceived to be this loudmouth geezer from Liverpool. People are forgetting he's a great fighter, brilliant fighter, clever fighter, and I just want him to get the respect that he deserves.
Now, although you desperately want Bellew to win the rematch as you did the first fight, if Haye were to be successful, he puts himself in the frame potentially for Joshua. He also puts himself in the frame potentially for a rubber match against Bellew. Yeah. So, with your business head on, is there a case? I can't lose? Well, yeah, but is there a part of you that
I want to win? All I want to do is win, and I'm very close to Tony, and I just want to see him win the fight. I don't see the Joshua fight as any kind of potential for Haye right now. Could that change in the future? Maybe. But, Joshua's chasing, obviously, Parker and then Wilder and then Fury if he comes back. But, if Haye wins the fight and wins it well, does he move forward to the big fights at heavyweight? Maybe. If it's a great fight, do you do number 3? Quite possibly. But if you gave me the option of a great fight and then a massive rematch, or the equaliser for number 3, or just a Tony Bellew victory, I'll take the victory all day long.
And why is that?
Just because I'm close to Tony. I just want to win, and I don't, I sound like I'm arrogant, but we've got a great business. Do you know what I mean? So that rematch ain't going to change my life. I just want to win. And that's like that first fight. That win was just, and because of the ups and downs in the fight, like the leg's gone, and then he's beating him up, and it's like, this is it. And then all of a sudden, 3 rounds later, Bellew looks like he's gassing. Haye's still in there, and I'm thinking, fuck, please. It's like, you get to a stage where it's like, please, and then the towel goes in, and it's euphoria. You can't buy those moments, do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if you're going to make millions out of a rematch. Those moments live with you forever. So I'd much rather get a nice, easy win, and then move on to another fight, because now he wants more fights. Before, this could have been his last fight. Now he's talking about 4 or 5.
And talking to Joshua, well, you weren't, I was, there's some rumours broke yesterday that you were looking at potentially August 25th, if he comes through Parker, to go to the US and fight Jarrell Miller. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like talking too much beyond, but obviously I was there for a Jarrell Miller press conference. All eyes on March 31st for us, and Joshua certainly isn't looking past that, but I feel like we need to fight in America, and what I said is that if Deontay Wilder still remains in Fantasy Island, and Miller looks good against the Halpers, if we were going to box in Brooklyn, to fight Jarrell Miller from Brooklyn would be an obvious fight. So, yeah, I think there's a real chance that late August could be the American debut of Anthony Joshua, and Jarrell Miller is a possibility, but 1 has to beat the Halpers, which is a tough fight, and 2 has to look good. So, we'll see.
And you talked about Deontay Wilder, the WBC heavyweight champion, being on Fantasy Island regarding his negotiating position, if you want to call it that, for a unification with Joshua. There was an interview yesterday with Richard Schaefer in which he called you childish, which I'm sure you won't be bothered about, sticks and stones and all that. He started it. But he's stating that the fight can make a lot more money in America. Without Wilder, Joshua can't have a mega pay-per-view in America, is how he described it. How much would you go along with that?
Well, I think Richard Schaefer's got absolutely nothing to do with it, as always, and I don't think he has any power in boxing anymore with any major fighters, but that's another story. But I see as they both need each other to get on American pay-per-view, but for getting American pay-per-view, look at what the fights generate for Joshua anyway, compared to what the fights generate for Deontay Wilder. Joshua's making 10 times the amount of money that Wilder is per fight. So it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. But the only way those two can box on pay-per-view in America is against each other. So does it make more money in America? I still think the fight can be a pay-per-view fight in the UK, but it's probably like for like, possibly more money in America. But I'd like to do 2. I'd like to do 1 in Vegas, 1 at Wembley. But again, he's got to beat Ortiz, which is a tough fight. We've got to beat Parker, which is a tough fight, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Do you think Wilder is the biggest threat in terms of active heavyweights out there to Joshua?
Yes.
And why? What sets him apart from the pack?
He's a devastating puncher. I think he's gangly. I think he's awkward. He's unorthodox. And he hits very hard. And Joshua likes to trade, and that's why he's always going to be in good fights. That's why the Parker fight's dangerous, because they're going to trade. And Parker's got speed; he can hit as well, and anything can happen. I mean, Joshua Wilder is a fight that you you just have to watch through your fingers. But that's what you want, isn't it? I mean, they're the fights you live for. And but I think there's going to be a lot of fun in the Wilder-Ortiz fight, and a lot of fun in the Joshua Parker fight. I think there's going to be a lot of drama.
And just before we let you go, what about Tyson Fury? We saw, I'm sure you saw the reception he got in Manchester over the weekend. He obviously remains relevant. How relevant is he to Joshua and your plans for him?
Not until he really gets back in the fold. I think, and rightfully so, Fury wants 2 or 3 fights to get himself back into the sport. Rightfully so. Despite the, fight me now, Joshua. The truth is he needs those fights. So when those fights take place and when he's up and running, it's the biggest fight in boxing. No, it's the biggest certainly the biggest fight in British boxing history. In terms of revenue, the Wilder fight is bigger because of the American pay-per-view. But it's a great fight. I mean, the narratives are they're all there, aren't they? So Joshua wants to fight him, but we need an excuse, and we need both guys to be ready. And you've got the politics. If you don't know what's going to happen, does he go with Warren? Does he stay with Hennessy? Does he come with us? Who knows? But it is a problem, obviously, if he's on another network, and it's not. I'm just being honest. I mean, the game. It's all very well saying, "Oh, come on, share it" and stuff like that. It doesn't work like that. So, but we want to we want to fight Tyson Fury, but the ultimate plan is to become undisputed champion for Anthony. So that leads to Wilder rather than Fury. But I think realistically, summer of 2019 is the kind of time frame where both guys will be ready for it.
And what we've seen with Fury recently and before the first Bellew fight with Haye is that they seem to want to beat Eddie Hearn as much as they want to beat the man in front of them.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I suppose if I was not me, I'd probably think I was a bit of a knob, really.
That's good self-awareness.
I think it's like you're kind of fighting the system, and I think a lot of these guys, they shouldn't think like this, but they see like some people don't want to sign with us because it's like you're giving in to the system,
the establishment.
Yeah, and it's like it really isn't like that. And people like Bellew will tell you that it's just a good move, and we know what we're doing, and we're very powerful. But it's almost like, no, I'm not going to sign with Eddie because that's just they like.
It's like selling out.
They like to be this independent guy who's me against the world and I'm going to do it on my own. That's fucking bollocks. That don't work. Do you know what I mean? So, I see a lot of that. I see it from guys, and I think eventually, Amir Khan's a great example. He felt the same way. I ain't signing with Eddie. No way. And then after a while, I sort of thought about it and then thought, you know what? And now ask him. And I'm asking him after this fight. He'll say, I wish I would have done this years ago.
So fighters learn to love you?
No, they don't have to love me. They don't have to. You never have to love me. I'm just good at what I do, and I can take you to places that other people can't, and I can make you money that other people can't. But you will like me once we work together, because I'm not probably I can't imagine I come across that great, but I know what I'm doing. And it's the same with Amir. Amir never liked me, but now we've got a great working relationship. Not saying that he's going to invite me around for tea, but if we work with Tyson Fury, I think you'd get a similar position where after a fight or so you go, I wish I would have done this years ago. But there is that element of, I want to beat him and beat that bastard Hearn as well.
Yeah, beat Matchroom, beat Hearn.
It's kind of like the geezer out of the WWF, isn't it? What's his name?
Steve Austin?
No, not him.
Oh,
no, the guy
CM Punk?
No, the guy who was involved with the management of the WWF.
Oh, Triple H?
No, not the wrestler. The guy who actually ran
Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the Mr. McMahon.
It's the evil guy of boxing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
you're the Mr. McMahon.
But when I started, I was like the hero. I said to Calla the other day, actually, it's quite interesting, because I went, Calla, this reminds me of when I started doing the shows. Everyone was like, Eddie. I'd walk through the show going, Eddie, take it to them. We love you. Now it's like, fuck off, Eddie, because you've become that, like you say, the establishment.
Did he believe you, or was he like, nah, they'll always love me?
Yeah, he was going, no. And now all of a sudden he's got a kickboxer going in a series, and he's like, oh, God, the criticism started. So look, it just comes with it, but all good.